Hey guys, we got some of the first cards released for Forged in the Barrens expansion, and I'm just going to be doing some preliminary reviews where I talk about the cards, if I think they're good, and what I think about what kind of decks could play them. And I'm going to be using, once again, the simple, garbage, pretty decent, or Godlike. I'm switching from broken to Godlike because I like the garbage Godlike element. So we're going to be using that scale. So kinds of cards will be pretty decent, garbage, or Godlike. Keeping it simple, 3 rating scale. Don't want to get too complicated. But I will be doing a full review with Jay Alexander next week. So make sure to tune in to that live on Twitch. But in the meantime, let's start off with a Blade Master Samura. So this is Rush Frenzy, deal damage equal to this minion's attack to all enemy minions. So basically this has to attack a minion that has 5 or less attack, and it will get the Frenzy effect, and it will deal 1 damage to everything. And I think this is actually I'm kind of on the fence between broken and pretty decent, or Godlike and pretty decent. I'm gonna go with pretty decent. What's really great about this is that it's a neutral. So decks that don't naturally have great board clears can use this. One thing, if you're running some deck with Inner Rage, where I think Inner Rage is rotating, I believe, but if you war, you could just go this and go Inner Rage on it, and it would go to plus attack. So if you're running something that buffs things, you could run this in some sort of Libram Paladin, and then go Hand of a Doll on it, and then rush it into something, and it's going to do even more damage. So this I think is a really useful card for decks that really need a board clear, but have crappy board clears. So classes like Druid, classes like Rogue. Now this is the type of card Rogue usually wants to run, but it's interesting that it could be just kind of give that neutral board clear that some classes need. Next we got Chain Lightning. Deal 2 damage to a minion and a random adjacent one, upgrades when you have 5 mana. So this is really neat where it just gets better as it goes on. So a lot of times removal is good early, but it just gets bad later. And this, especially if you're a value heavy deck, the fact that it just gets better is a kind of nice. I don't think this is that strong, and it's similar power strength to the cards like Smite, stuff like that. But I still think it's over on solid. So I could see a Control Shaman Architect definitely running this card. So I'm gonna go with pretty decent. Rukan, nature spell damage +3. So this only works for nature spells, and I still haven't gotten quite a good feel of all the nature cards. But so that being said, the fact that it gives you a spell damage +3 for your nature cards, for the amount of stats, this is efficient stats, and it's +3 spell damage. So if you have a nature spell, a deck that uses a lot of nature cards, this card's insane. And I believe this should have natural synergy with Ra's Frost Whisperer. So I know John Barry already has a spell damage shaman deck that he plays, and he's done very well with. I believe he got #1 legend with it. So, but it's still not quite a high power level yet. But a card like this could put spell damage shaman on the map. It's insane in Primordial studies. So I think this card could enable a whole archetype. Very strong card. So I'm gonna go with a broken or Godlike on this one. So next we got Peon. Frenzy, add a random spell from your class to your hand. So this is better stats than most value generating cards, but all your opponent has to do is kill it with like a clean kill. Doesn't have rush. So I'm gonna go with this is garbage. I don't think it sees play. Yeah. Mancrick. Help Mancrick find his wife. She was last seen somewhere in your deck. So this is a shuffle card. It shuffles this 3/10 in, and it comes out and immediately attacks the hero. And that's a really good effect. But it just doesn't. These kind of effect cards are usually just right on the margin. I believe Sunstrider was run in Rogue, But that being said, I think with a lot of burst damage going away, longer games might be a thing. So having this 310 come out could be really nice. There's also interesting things like if you're running this card in a hunter deck and you run the tracking, which now is discover, you might get lucky and discover this. So I'm not sure how strong these cards like this have seen play and they have been decent. But they've kind of been right on the line between garbage and decent. So I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to say pretty decent because I don't want to say this is garbage because it's a cool card. But there's no way this is ever broken. It's at best just pretty decent. Razormore Raider, Frenzy, attack a random enemy. If this card had Rush, it would be broken, but no Rush, it's garbage. It's nice that if you attack something, you can attack its face, but this is going to be a nice arena card. But it's never going to be, I'd say never going to be good in a standard deck. Sunscale Raptor. Shuffle a Sunscale Raptor into your deck with permanent +2/+1. So this is interesting where it's kind of these hunter archetypes that have a lot more heavy beast late game value. Dire Frenzy's coming back. So, and you can also win a fatigue battle as well with this kind of card because it can just keep shuffling stuff in. So that being said, your opponent's going to try, if they're in control of the board, they're going to use that to make sure you don't get the frenzy. So I'm not sure about this card. It's really interesting, and that's what I'm liking about this expansion so far is there are a lot of effects and things, especially with the new core set, that I'm having a hard time evaluating because, with all the new cards going away, it's hard to see what's going to be valuable. Is the meta going to move to be a much more late game meta? Is aggro going to still be king, but only a few classes can play it like Demon Hunter? Hard to say right now. That being said, this card looks interesting enough that I'm going to go pretty decent, but it could definitely be garbage. But at the end of the day, it's still a 1-mana 1/3 and 1-mana 1/3 see play. So that being said, Dire Mole saw play, and that was a 1/3, and that was a neutral in Hunter. And this is just upside. So realistically, this actually might be broken now. I think there's no way this is garbage. So because of kind of we look at comparable stuff, so definitely an interesting card. But that being said, will it be actually able to practically get off these frenzies and use those as a win condition? And it actually can be a negative if you're a Hunter deck that doesn't have great draw. Because Hunter historically has had bad draw. Here's the problem with a card like this: is you get to like 8-9 mana. Oh wow, I got a 1-mana 3/4. That's great until you realize you're floating in 6 mana. So it's not necessarily good to have all these 1-drops, even if they are really efficient. So not convinced this is good. Always an upside, but still interesting. And at the end of the day, it's a 1-mana 1/3. We'll probably see play. Druid of the Plains. Frenzy, Rush, transform into a 6/7 Coda with Taunt. This is kind of similar to the 8-mana card from Demon Hunter, the 9/5 that Rush, Death Rattle, saw Taunt. Very similar strength, 7 mana in Druid. So does not get pulled out from and the I'm blanking on the name, the animal companion for Druid, which is Guardian Animals. I didn't even see it, I just remembered it now. So it does not get pulled out with Guardian Animals. So these decks have historically tried to be worked, and they just never have quite worked for Druid, the heavy beast archetype. But like I said, this is very efficient. And with the rush, the fact that you can rush into something. So another card where it's hard for me to evaluate because a lot of it's meta dependent. But it is a very efficient stance. If the meta calls for this kind of card, if there's a powerful 5/7 minion that gets played on turn 6, that's repeating the meta. This card would be very useful. So it's hard for me to know right now like where this naturally slots in, but I'm gonna go with pretty decent. It just, even though these cards historically don't see play, but at least within its archetype. So it's very tempting to do garbage, but with ramp, I'm not 100% sure. So Imp Swarm. Summon a 3/2 imp. Upgrades when you have 5 mana. You can see it upgrades 2 and some is 3. So this is less than Flame Imp. It's it's a more expensive Flame Imp at rank 1. But I think these 3/2s are just historically really bad. Summoning. Look at this. Even at 10 mana I can summon 3/2s. But how useful is that really? It's much slower. Decks that summon 3/2s really want to be doing it quickly. So I just really can't see a deck where this would be good in. Am I going to run this in Control Warlock? No. Am I going to run this in a Zoo Warlock? No. So I'm going to go with garbage. I think this is really bad. Spirit Healer, after you cast a holy spell, give your friendly minion +2 health. That seems decent until you realize, like, do I really need this +3 health? Realistically, this is probably a decent arena card, but just because it's good stats. But overall, I'm going to go with garbage. I don't think this card ever sees play. Desperate Prayer. Restore 5 health to each hero. So this is the biggest weakness of this card, is that it's low value, and Priest needs value. But in an Auctioneer Priest deck, if that deck exists, this card would be absolutely insane. We've seen Auctioneer Priest decks. Auctioneer's not going away. So this card is literally if Auctioneer Priest deck exists, it's because of this card. This card's insane in a cyclically late game kind of win condition Priest deck. Now, I don't know if that's there, but this card, that synergy can't be ignored, so I'm going to go with pretty decent. Great in that deck, horrible in every other deck that would run it. I don't think a normal Priest deck would ever run this card, except as an extreme tech to maybe a very weird meta. But that being said, I'd say in that deck, it's pretty decent. Also, a very good card to get off Renew sometimes, because you can play it for 0. So if you're really desperate, you might, like I said, desperate prayer, you might be able to save yourself from an aggro deck. Kazakus Golem Shaper. If your deck has no 4-cost cards, build a custom golem. So this is very much like Kazakus before. You get kind of these different sized golems as opposed to potions, and it always gives you a minion. But I think the example they showed in the video was taunt, draw 2 cards for 5. So it would be draw 1 card, draw 3 cards, kind of the same as the old potion. I'm guessing there's going to be some sort of damage 1, maybe a heal 1, stuff like that. And these cards have historically been really good. And I think one of the things that's interesting is 4-drops are in certain decks are very valuable, and certain decks don't even run 4-drops already. A lot of decks right now run 3-drops and 5-drops, especially with Cobalt Spellkin. But I think that the thing is Cobalt Spellkin, I believe. Let's see. Cobalt Spellkin is from Descent of Dragons. Yep. So we'll be rotating. That being said, if there's a lot of 3 and 5 drops and not a lot of 4 drops, this card will just not even be costly to put in your deck. Because a lot of times decks are playing multiple 3 drops and then coining out a 5 drop kind of thing. So 4 drops tend to be awkward anyways. So I could definitely see this not even being a big deal. And then it always gives you a turn 5 play as well. So just has that nice curve. So definitely a card I could see run in a lot of decks that don't really need 4 drops. So the effect is very powerful. Now, is this card good enough to be run in a deck that really values 4 drops? Probably not. But I think a lot of decks, like I said, just don't really need 4 drops. They can do with 3 and 5. So I think this card could definitely be very strong. So I'm going to go with a Baroque Godlike on this one. Primordial Protector. Battle Cry. Draw your highest cost spell. Summon a random minion with the same cost. So this is basically what's the Spiteful Summoner, but with better stats, costs 2 more mana. Though it was nerfed to 7 and still saw play at 7 a little bit, not that much. But at 8, it draws you the cards. You get to keep it, and you can still run little spells. So it tutors out. So you could run this in a Druid deck, get a free 10 drop. You could run it to get 8 drops with other decks. This card, now, it's very slow, but the effect is very powerful. So the tutoring out, so I don't know, like, if the meta is fast, this card is going to get annihilated, but in a slow value heavy meta, this card is insane. So I'm going to go with Godlike. I'm a big fan of this card. I like the tutor. I like the stats. This card might just break the game. If aggro is not strong enough. So if you have a very value heavy meta, you run this in Druid, you take out your survival, you get a big 10 drop, then you play the survival next turn with like an innervate or something on 9, and you just wreck your opponent. So feels very strong in the right meta, in the right deck. That being said, it's not for everyone. The wrong meta, the wrong deck, this card could be absolute trash, so it's really meta dependent. That's like what I said, but I can't ignore the efficiency. Draw a card, play 2 powerful cards, and summon 2 powerful cards, draw a card. In a value late game deck, this card's very good. I could see it be slotted to Highlander Druid today. I could see it slotted to another Druid archetype. Maybe even a priest that runs res, something like that, or Plague of Death could be very valuable. So not sure if every deck wants to run this, but definitely some decks I think could run it already naturally in the current meta. So Cannon Master Smith. Transform your secrets into 3/3 soldiers. They transform back when they die. This card is so interesting. So you all your secrets, and secrets only cost 1 for Paladin. You get 3/3 soldiers. Secrets historically in Paladin have been garbage because they're just not enough value unless you have a way to cheat them out from your deck. But this effect is very good. So this, if you run secrets in your deck, this card's like if secrets are already good enough to play, this card would be godlike. But secrets suck. So especially for Paladin. So I know they've kind of improved some of the secrets, but I'm worried that just Paladin will, also it's a thing of like if you're going into your turn 5 and your opponent knows you run this, they can just destroy all your secrets. And the fact that you're running all these crappy secrets means you're going to be falling behind on board. So I just don't know if this is actually good. But that being said, the effect is too powerful for me to say it's garbage when it works. But will secrets this, so I'm going to go pretty decent. I could see it being garbage. I know everyone's going to be saying this is broken. But I just think secrets have historically been too bad. We'll see. I know they've changed the secrets up, so we'll see if it makes it. But I just think when I see this card, I think it's a card that looks really cool. That will never work. So that's kind of my opinion on that card. Next, we got Mordridge Fireeye. When I first saw this card, I thought this card was garbage. What are you talking about? How are you going to deal 10 damage with your hero power? Especially, I believe Arcane Watcher is rotating. That's the 3-mana 2/5 that deals 3 damage with your hero power. But then I did see Reckless Apprentice. Fire your hero power at all enemies. So all you have to do is play this card like once or twice, and it is a rare. So you run this in some sort of controlled mage deck, and this card's like a pseudo win condition. You play this, you clear the board, you develop, they remove it, and you finish them. So this card I thought was really bad until I saw the synergy, and that's why it's so important to see the synergy, because if you just have the hero power 10 times, or maybe Arcane Watcher or Arcane Artificer was still in the game, that's the 3-mana 2/5, but your hero power deals 2 extra damage, this card would be just absolute garbage. But this card's really good. This Reckless Apprentice, fire your hero power at all enemies. Just deal 4 mana, 3/5, deal 1 to all. Like really decent as is. And it has the natural synergy with Mordridge Fireeye. So I'm going to go with this card is pretty decent, though super synergy dependent. But I'm going to go with the Reckless Apprentice as godlike. This card's really good. Good stats, good developmental, even does some face damage. So seems like a very strong card. I believe you don't have to use your mana for this. If you do, because I think it's Battlecry Fire, it's not your hero power fires the next time or something like that. So if it was, it would actually be really bad. But at the 4 mana, the fact that you can play this against an aggro deck. So like I said, it looks like there's a lot of things to deal with. Wide token boards. So I think aggro is going to do worse. I think we're going to have a lot more heavy value games, which means cards like this, Mordridge Fireeye, look like they're to be really strong in the right deck. So will it get more synergy? I don't know. Like it's still, this might not be enough synergy. If it gets a little more synergy, this could be really good as kind of your late game win condition. So interesting card. We'll see if it actually works out. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. I'm going to do a few more just casual reviews, but make sure to check out my review with Jay Alexander next week. I'll be posting it on Twitter if you follow me there on the actual time. So hope you guys enjoyed that and enjoy.